And I mean, he even said he was AI, but because and that's actually brings up a point is I think when AI is used disingenuously as it's pretending to be a person, that's one thing. I think when AI is used and says, hey, I'm a robot, I'm C3PO, but I'm still going to interface with you. I find that the consumption of AI goes up as a consumer, somebody who's interfacing with it, because it is something where it's a known entity. And welcome back to the Money, the Mindset, and the Mentoring podcast. Today, I'm so excited. We have Sahil and we have Viplove from Maverick Velocity Sales, and they help companies grow and scale their business as an outsourced sales partner for growing their high-ticket sales. So, guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Steve, for having us.
Oh, no, thank you. I'm so excited to chat about sales. It's one of my favorite topics. As you can see behind me, all the books on sales. I read a lot about it. I study sales as if it's a PhD course for me. And so, guys, I'm super excited to get your input on this. And welcome to the show.
We'll love to give you more than our input and experience.
Sweet. So, talk to me. Give me a little bit about your understanding of the sales process, understanding of how you can help impact businesses. Let's just talk a little bit about sales.
Sal, you go first, buddy.
Absolutely. So I think, Steve, first of all, thanks for inviting us over here. And as you said, I mean, we could be speaking about sales pretty much all days of the week, 24/7, even when we're partying, all that stuff. So, that's like a huge part of our lives. I think, one of the key points we were discussing just before Viplove and I was how pretty much all the SDR tasks, like when it comes to, follow-ups, prospecting and all of that is just being taken over by AI. And now there's tools like Clay.com that's just pretty much hyper-personalizing every single email or the message that goes out to prospects. And I remember a time where I used to hire 2 VAs to just scout through prospects' websites, write the first line personalized, and then I had to approve that. I had to make changes, and obviously there used to be errors. And this exercise used to take anywhere about 7 to 14 days, depending on, the size of the list. But it's absolutely crazy how it's all automated now.
So I'll tell you, Steve, I've seen 3 eras. There were 3 eras in the sales. The number one era where there were no tools. I used to do in the Excel sheets and everything. Then there was an era where we started our business, was the era of the CRMs, the RPS or the normal automation. Okay, then this is the era where it's AI. It's pretty much we have seen the growth. Now, what we have seen personally as part of the process is everything fundamentally is same, which used to be in the 1980s, 90s, late 2000 or anything, right? But the point is what's changed is the efficiency. Okay. And again, it's more like it feels supernatural at times because from the people who have done like rigorous hard work. What I feel like, people starting the sales in the world of era of AI is going to be very difficult for them to, go through the drill what we have gone through, because we used to write every mail. We used to, read pretty much everything possible out there because there was no automation. Now AI just makes our life easier. But again, what I can say is that the process remains the same to bring the right people.
The fundamentals.
Your targeting has become much more better because now you have more tools. Your messaging has become better because you can personalize, and then there are different tools so that, we can automate everything. Pretty much the way you invited us to the podcast. I was in the calendar. It was the link. We don't have to go from here to there. So it's just the efficiency and smart efficiency. This is what I have seen.
And I agree with you. And I think I love how you walk through a little bit of the time periods, because I'm a firm believer in this as well. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about the idea and add on to that topic of the way organizations have to change based on how AI and other technologies that are coming out are really disrupting the whole structure of sales. And I agree that back in the day, when Bob is sitting in the office smoking, and Sally is the admin, and they're running in that sort of a perspective. They're running out, grabbing the newspapers, trying to look at people, looking through the phone book or whatever method they're trying to find people. That's a very different system that they had to what people are looking at today. And then furthermore, the idea of the salesperson being an independent lone wolf, I think that's also just gone. Because when you look at the individual sales rep, I think they get isolated. I think they don't have that ability to be able to build the systems and processes. Whereas the individual who's inculcated into a team environment, where the team environment has marketing, it has sales, and it has IT as an integrated unit, what that does is it gives that team a lot more power than the individual. The individual won't be able to keep up when you look at the new modern way of selling.
Absolutely. I think
right.
for SDRs right now, if you just talk about the typical sales development representatives, just adding on to what you said, and I 100% agree, I think the value of a sales development representative has just significantly depleted now. Right? Because before, what an SDR was supposed to do was do everything from building a list, creating those contacts, reaching out, scheduling meetings and all of that stuff. Now, I feel like that aspect is completely automated, and it's done much better with AI. So I think, in my opinion, the only valuable asset a salesperson has is how well they can close, because we're not at that stage yet where AI is going to be closing for you. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a time for that as well. But I think most of the redundant tasks, and actually some of the key building tasks in sales, scheduling appointments, recording meeting notes and all of that stuff as well, is just completely taken over by AI. So I believe for SDRs, it's just like, if you don't want to be replaced by AI, just get better at A, closing, and B, using those AI tools to be able to show value to your company. Be like, this is what I've used and these are the outcomes that I've produced. Instead of fighting with it, just, try to use that as your ally. I think that's the best way SDRs are going to win.
I would like to also add, people are scared of AI, that AI is going to take over the job. But again, what's the difference out there? Now, people see, sales is a game of discipline. You got to get up every day. You got to do your job, and you have to think outside the box, because there will be different objections, different proposals, different company at all the times. Now, what AI is doing is better than the humans, but if you are good at discipline, okay, if you're taking about, let's say, 5 goals, 10 goals, you're doing the follow-ups, okay, you're learning more. Now, what happens is that we use AI, but as fundamentally, because we also talk with our clients. So what we have is, we know where AI can be useful for them, or where AI can be useful for us. Now, people just too much relying on it and, just saying bad things, AI is this, AI is that. But, I feel like anytime there is always a revolution, whether it's in tech or in any field, the losers will always cry. Okay. And the winners will find an opportunity to use the change to their advantage. And we have used it for sure. And we have seen a lot of people crying about AI, but the truth is, we're here, and it's just going to get more and more better.
Absolutely. I remember when we first, back in the day, got our Pentium 386 or whatever it was. And this was one of the first computers. I mean, obviously you had Commodore, you had all these other things that came out. But when we got our first computer, and people were like, oh, this is going to replace people. And obviously it didn't replace people. We're still here. With AI coming out, I think AI, it's kind of like, if you're a leader of an organization, are you going to hire the worst people because you don't want people as good as you? Or are you going to hire the best people, which means sometimes you're going to hire people that are better than you? I think a good leader focuses on hiring people that are better than them, and then integrating them into the organization to make the organization effective. I think AI, if you treat AI like a really good employee, maybe somebody who's better than you at certain things, you find out how to integrate them in the organization to make the organization more effective, to build a better structure, to build a better system for success. And I think that's what's going to put people ahead. Treat AI like a really good employee, and you're going to see success. Because sometimes AI makes mistakes, just like a really good employee.
Exactly. We
Absolutely.
couldn't agree more, Steve. I think, we were just talking about, let's say, if there's a lot of platforms out there that are doing AI cold calling now, right? And I get people asking me, like, is it effective? Is it, going to work out for us? Obviously there's apprehensions towards it, and I think Viplove would testify as well. But again, you need to look at it as an employee, as Steve you rightly mentioned. It's the right training, right? It's the way you would treat a normal cold caller, with the tonal patterns, with the objection handling, giving them different scenarios. Just assume that this person just has very basic sales experience and then use it. Because right now what companies are doing, it's like, AI can do this for me. So they're going to put minimal input out there and expect maximum output. Meetings being booked, leads coming in, but that's in reality that's not how it works. You still need to put in the work.
Also, I look at very simple, Steve, is there are two parts to, this. I mean, doesn't matter if it's AI for sales in general, but AI for in any field, whether it's for productivity, for its finance, for anyone. One is called strategy and intelligence. Okay. The guys who can talk, as you mentioned, when we are in on the topic of AI as an employee, AI will always remain the employee. AI will not turn into the CEO, right? Now, the people who have to think that what I can take the best out of this AI, okay, you have to inculcate the experience. So, for example, there's a tool through which we make cold emails. Earlier, we used to write, we used to have those. Now, AI gives us the talking points. Now we have to give the talking points about the product, what we understand, what the problems it solves. Again, we have to do that. So it's like now it's the time that people should start sitting and thinking how things can be done, execution, AI can do better. Now, not in all places, for sure, but of course, it makes your life a lot efficient. One benefit of AI I've been using for the last 2 years is that I don't have to write my own emails or reply emails to anyone. What I do is just I have a tool where I don't even like to type. So I just speak, just write this, and AI is just gonna use my pattern. Okay. Now, interesting question, or I would say, important keyword is my pattern. I have given the pattern to AI that this is the method or this is the way I want to sound, and this is how I talk. And that's how, people can use it. So thinking is important. Just having an AI is not going to lead you anywhere, for sure.
I agree with you. It's funny when you talk about AI answering emails. I have AI answering my texts all the time, and I get these texts from some of these sales guys, and it was hilarious. My brother was watching this the other day, and this sales guy's trying to sell me something, and my AI just keeps on answering them. It went on for probably like, I don't know, 20 or 30 texts or something like that, just going back and forth. And my AI was very polite and complimentary and just supportive of the whole initiative, but wasn't agreeing to anything of buying anything, obviously, as it doesn't have my express consent. But it was interesting to watch the person interface with the AI. And I mean, he even said he was AI, but because that's actually brings up a point is I think AI, when AI is used disingenuously as it's pretending to be a person, that's one thing. I think when AI is used and says, hey, I'm a robot, I'm C3PO, but I'm still going to interface with you, I find that the consumption of AI goes up as a consumer, somebody who's interfacing with it, because it is something where it's a known entity. But when they're pretending to be somebody and then you kind of catch them on it, people go, aha, you've duped me, click. I don't want to be part of this.
Absolutely.
I think that has a negative notion as well, because I mean, talking about AI pretending to be human, we're seeing that a lot with these chatbot solutions that are out there on real estate companies, e-commerce companies, and there's two types of companies. It's very funny where I actually tested it out once. One is where they just quite literally say that I'm an AI bot and I'm gonna give you your personalized recommendations, all of that, which is good. You're giving me that transparency. Then the other guy, his name is apparently John. He said, I'm John. I'm your personal sales executive over here. I'm going to assist you with finding the right property. And then after a point, I sort of sensed that because there was waiting time, they sort of, as you said, duped me into believing this is a real human. I waited for about 2 minutes in the queue, and then there was John. He was assisting me. A couple of times where I noticed the language patterns and all that, when I asked a question that he did not know the answer to, that's when I was like, no, this is AI. And that's where I was put off. I was just like, you're not going to lie to me. I mean, we're happy if you guys are using AI. We understand the adoption. We understand how, it's going to be efficient for you as a business. We don't have any problem with it as long as it's serving our purpose. I mean, I'm speaking completely from a consumer standpoint. So, Steve, I think you're right on point when you say it's more about being transparent rather than pretending to be human, because some of the things you're really not going to be able to copy. I don't think there's ever going to be, I think it might be wrong to say ever, but for the foreseeable future, there's not going to be a point where AI is able to just replicate a human. Those emotional patterns, let's say if I was to write something witty on that chatbot, the AI would not know how to respond, because it's, so I think there's time until that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a situation where AI can actually be witty. I don't know if you've ever played with it enough to make it witty. That you can actually make it witty, and it's pretty hilarious.
So, Steve, if you look at the fundamentals of AI, is what? AI is not producing its own information. AI is just taking the information from what it exists on the web. That's what ChatGPT is, right? So now you have got Grant Cardone's book, in your library behind, right? So our goal is to create, someone who can be like him. Now, how? His principles. So AI is going to be replicating that. So people mistake it, AI is going to be, creating his own information. Like he's going to be doing something, but he has to learn something. He's a good learner. Okay. And he uses information really, really well. I mean, I'm done with, people, just having, two views about, good and bad. Actually, it's good. I mean, if I can do, let's say 100 calls, let's say cold calling we're talking about, let's say it's not even efficient at the moment, it will be. And pretty much we are also working on something for that. But let's say if it's about 10,000 calls, I'm able to do it in a week in a cold call. From that, let's say I'm just getting about 100 appointments, worse conversion rate, right? That's good. In comparison, I'm trying to do 20 calls a week, a day, and then 140 calls, which is a good conversion rate, but giving me about 10 of them, then there's no points. It's all about action and reaction. So AI is going to help me perform more so I can get a good result out of it. People are not getting it. They're not using it. 85% of the people I've met in sales, they have heard about ChatGPT, but they don't use it. I'm like, why?
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. That's a great point. When you look at the idea that, the people who spend time in AI, we think that everybody's doing it. And we think that, oh my gosh, this is what everybody's doing. We're just like everybody else. And it's just like podcasting. I was talking with somebody the other day about podcasting, and she said, oh, I think everybody's got a podcast. I don't need one. I said, well, who's your everybody? And I said, and she started labeling off some people. I said, okay, are they part of the top of the industry? Or are they part of the bottom of the industry? She said, oh no, they're at the very top. I said, so what you're telling me is that everybody who's at the top of the industry has a podcast? Yes. Okay. Well, then what should you do? Because you don't have one. I should get a podcast. Mm-hmm. Right. Same thing with AI.
Absolutely. I think speaking about podcasts in itself, right? I mean, yes, it's very easy to get started and stuff, but as you mentioned, it's either the top of the industry where you're actually providing value. It's very easy to start recording something. I've seen a lot of people do that, right? Oh, we have a podcast. Like, I think it's more like a cool thing to do these days because you sort of come off as an expert even when you're not. And we see a lot of these, people starting podcasts speaking absolutely about the most random stuff. And let's say if their podcast is supposedly focused on, let's talk about B2B, or let's talk about maybe, tech or SaaS, right? They're going to be speaking about everything, but just sort of to have a quote unquote podcast out there is sort of,
they just want to show it to their girlfriend's mother that, hey, I'm a guy.
I'm a podcaster.
I'm a podcaster. But I'll tell you one thing here, Steve, whether it's about the podcast, AI, or anything, and correct me if you guys have been in the industry for a very long time also, and in your respective fields. Um, what I have seen is, see, at the end of the day, what AI is typically doing is all about finding the use case. Now, if you want to start a
Yeah.
podcast, the reason has to be right. I want to spread my word. I want to know, let people know about what I do. Okay. I don't want, just to be sitting, let's say on my email and responding to everyone. I want other people to know the value I provide, something unique I have, right? That's the reason why I should start podcasting. Now, why I choose podcast? Because I feel like my audience is going to be there. It's easier for me. I can just, produce content. And so that's a good reason to start. Now, when it comes to AI in sales or anything, right? First, we talk about the use case. If people say AI for sales, that's a huge thing. You don't have to worry about that. You first talk about, okay, this is my work. It's taking me 4 hours. Can I find a solution to just make those 4 hours into about 10 minutes of my day so that I can focus on the right things? People don't go by case by case. These are just, and in anything, like there's a website called, there's an AI for that. It's a directory and there are multiple websites like this. What you do is, like regardless of AI in sales or anything, you just say, where are you spending most of your time? Let's say, are you spending most of your time this? Do you first consider that that's a productive thing? If let's say I'm talking with my teams, okay, let's say I'm talking with my partner, let's say Sahil, right? So I don't consider if I have to spend 4 hours, that's fine because that's worth my time. But if I am just creating a message or, doing a social media and just trying to get it on Canva for 4 hours, that's not the best use of my time. Then I pick that use case. Okay, this is where I'm losing my time because that time is important and that's what it's saving. So this is people have to understand the fundamental that this is where they can apply anything. Reasons are very important.
Absolutely. I think the strategy itself of saying, where am I going to make the most impact? I mean, we do this at any time when we do an assessment have you guys heard of the Pareto principle?
Yeah, I've faintly heard of that.
Yeah, so with the Pareto principle, basically what we do is we look at somebody's time and we first Venn diagram out a little bit about what they do. We say, are you the best at doing this? That's number one. And then number two, do you really enjoy doing this? And then number three is it going to make the biggest impact financially or otherwise? And where you see those three circles intersect in the middle, which is I'm the best at it, I have the most impact at doing it, and I really enjoy doing it. Like that's the mecca. That's where you want to spend the most amount of time. And everything else, then you start figuring out, is it part of my 20% impact or is it part of the 80%? In other words, can I put it out to somebody else? And that in AI, anything with AI fits exactly into that model. It's saying, is it going to make a better impact than I'm going to do? For sure. In certain tasks. Maybe another task, not so much. And I think that's what people need to do when they assess anything when it comes to delegation. Because really at the end of the day, when you're looking at AI and using AI, you're really delegating a task to somebody. It just so happens to be technology.
Now, this is actually a good thing. People who are good at delegating, they love AI. People who are more like micromanagers, they're not good at delegating to AI everything. Okay, so this is I think real one more concern of people who hating the AI. Because they can't let go, because they think that the guy below me might not be able to do as efficient as I can do, and they are right about it. But again, you have to understand that you are at the position where your time has to be spent at the right places. So avoid those gibberish languages, and it's okay, it's fine.
With that, I think you've really hit the nail on the head. Is the idea that the individual who wants to own the task is the person who has a hard stop when it comes to things like AI. The person who wants to own the result has no problem in integrating efficiencies because they're looking at the result, not the task.
Exactly. I think, speaking about for example, in a sales landscape in itself as well, right? I think when you're more driven with outcome, I was just speaking about how you need to be good at closing and not about the admin stuff that is now being replaced. So the people that had the mentality of an outcome driven process that, okay, you know what? I can schedule, let's say 10 demos, 20 demos a week, right? I could do more than that. I could be generating 5-6 leads a day, right? But again, ultimately, you're looking at what am I going to be closing out of that? The people that had the focus at closing more than how many demos I'm scheduling, those are the people that are going to win now, right? Because now they're happy to, those are the sales development representatives that are happy to delegate their prospecting and the scheduling and all of that stuff to the AI now. So now they're like, okay, now I'm in my zone. I can just focus on closing. And those are the people that are going to be winning in today's landscape.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're running a sales organization, you have to look at outcomes, irrespective of whether it was the 80s, when we're wearing Assabos jeans, whether it's the 90s when we're listening to Nirvana, whether it's in the 2000s when I don't even know what's going on in that space. But what I do know is that in the technology space, we definitely are seeing such a ramp up in it. And in any of those situations, you still had to focus on outcomes of close. It just, you felt like you owned the whole process, whereas you actually didn't. If you actually looked at back in the day, organizations that could split it, when we originally talked about Bob and Sally, they had tasks, they had delegated responsibilities. Sally would organize the day, she'd hold the calendar. Bob would be going out and, running into the phone booth to call Sally and say, I'm on to the next place. What should I do? Ring, ring, that kind of a thing. It's the same thing. It's just Sally now today is skilling up. So this is actually one of the things that I think is really interesting, is that the people who are doing the administrative task have such an opportunity to skill up into the next level of their job. And so when you look at VAs, when you look at all these people out there that are saying, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my job. No. You've just got yourself some digital employees and skill up.
No, I don't know. Probably this is going to be a very good line for the future, but just to give people a little bit of relief that now we have a population of 8 billion people in the world. Let's say an AI can do 10 times or 10 people's job with one. So 8 times 10, it's 80 billion. So now you have 80 billion people, efficient people rather than 8 billion. So it's going to definitely create a better impact. So you don't have to worry about it. It's just that you have to adapt. What the world has taught you. The situation has changed, but that doesn't mean that you don't, you're not required. For example, there's a job called prompt engineer. Out of the blue, it's now one of the highest paying jobs out there. Who knew, back in 2020, that this would be a job or a very good one?
Yeah, the idea of the population. I actually have a podcast scheduled with a fellow who's got a PhD in this whole space of AI. Or working on this. And so that's one of the things that we're talking about, is specifically just that topic alone, is because if we look at a lot of the populations in North America or any other place, we see this inverse triangle where our population is very top heavy. And a lot of people are looking at how are we going to handle when the baby boomers and those type of people are exiting into retirement, how are we going to handle all those jobs? And if AI can jump in and take some of those tasks, that, as you say, it stabilizes the population in the way that we have the inverse, and it actually starts to beef up the population when we need it.
Exactly.
Outcome based.
The outcome based, yeah. So I think, talking about the usage of AI from a from a sales perspective, if you're looking at, of course, there's the prompt engineering part where you need to be an expert at, of course, telling the AI what to do. So I think it's creativity and adaptability at the same time that you need to make a good use of. One of the instances I want to mention here is, and something like I would call it a positive breakthrough, in AI and in the sales landscape as well. For a client recently, what we did was we were trying to go as hyper personalized as possible to our prospects. But with the way the adoption of AI has been, I think pretty much everybody's trying to do those first line personalized emails. It's become so simple now. So we're like, okay, you know what? How do we take this forward? Like, how do we, do something better here? I think this was surprising for me as well. So what we did was we discovered a tool which can basically personalize each video for the prospect's respective name and their website. And then all you got to do is just record the video once, right? You're recording the video once and you're automating that for thousands of prospects. And I remember a time just about 2-3 years ago, we used to do a lot of Loom outreach.
Vidyard or Loom.
Vidyard and Loom. we used to do these manually, and this used to be the most painful task. It did get us output, but it used to be the most painful task. And I'm just looking at this. It probably costs around $400, $500 to actually send out 500 or 700 videos. But the amount of work is just absolutely nothing. All you've got to do is set up the campaign, upload a video, and then the website. And then it's going to be like, I'm going to say in my original video, hi there, right? And in the personalized video, it's going to be, hi, Steve, hi, Viplove, hi, John, right? Because the AI is doing its job. So that's something, again, amazing from my perspective.
Absolutely.
I think AI in the second stage, when it goes to, the AGI, which is the artificial general intelligence, because we are now in a world of a very weak AI. It's so weak that still it's disrupting the world. Imagine when, it will get to the second stage, what it will do. Now, the point is that for now, first liners, as Sahil mentioned, and we've seen a lot of first lines, it's just going to throw flowers at people. When you're personalizing, you have to be personal enough. So AI is still not there yet, but I hope it will be. And of course, I think OpenAI is doing a lot of things to launch AGI. That's why. It's going to be controversial, so let's not talk there about what really happened inside.
Well, I think the idea of when you talk about the sales process, let's talk about that in a second, of the idea that you're going to say certain things every single time. And you're going to say hi, and then somebody's going to say hi, and then you're going to say, how are you? You say fine, and you're going to say good. How are you? And I'm good too. And you're like, well, that's a script. And most salespeople think, oh, I don't script. And you're like, most good salespeople know that you script. And so AI can follow that as a framework for success in taking a video of, I know here's what the outcome I want. I know here's generally what it is. And to make it so that it has a flair for each of the single time it releases. I mean, one of the books that was written, I believe, was written by Brandon Dawson. It was this book, The 9-Figure Mindset. I'm pretty convinced that his book was read by AI. And so when you go to the Audible, and it sounds like Brandon Dawson, but I don't think it is Brandon Dawson reading it. I think it's AI reading it. And I haven't challenged him on that yet because I haven't seen him in a while. But it'd be interesting to find out if that was the case, because it just takes, again, something that is mundane, which is just turning words into an audio file, and puts that into something that's efficient, so he can focus on the things that are going to be most impactful for his business. And so, looking at like the video thing that you're talking about in the email, I think that is a wonderful tool to be able to do. And I think, I do know a lot of people use that technique, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
I think there's a point to be mentioned here. I think it's amazing what AI can do when it comes to personalizing videos and stuff, as we spoke about. But consider this scenario where you've got personalization done completely perfectly. There's no loopholes, everything's solid. But what you're saying in that 1 minute video is pretty much as if you're just reading off of a script, right? You're not really being empathetic. You're not really talking about the customer's pain points. Why? Because it's all about attention span. Those 1 to 2 minutes, you need to grab their attention. You need to show them that you're the experts in the field. You know exactly how to solve their problems, right? But if you're not doing a good job at the script, the personalization cannot save you. I see a lot of companies also trying the best of the best AI tools out there, but the subject matter in itself, the fundamentals of sales, they do not change. If you don't know them and you're like, personalization and AI is coming to save my life. Yeah, this goes for business owners as well. It's not going to do that. You still need to be good at, let's say, speaking to people, building that relationship. AI is just going to do that initial job of personalization where you grab their interest and they're just interested to sort of watch more or read more. That's it. It's not going to close the deal for you.
So if I feel, it's the emotion in the voice that's missing. For example, if I speak 100%. With you, Steve, AI will ask you, hey, how are you? But if I have to ask you, I will ask you, hey, Steve, how are you? All good? So again, the depth, which tonal patterns to use, for certainty, for emotions, and you have to show confidence, sound fair, again, all these nuances, AI will be in a position in about 10 years to learn. But again, it will be learning from the best of the West, right? Like the guys like Grant Cardone, Jordan Belfort, and Brian Tracy. So these are the guys because they are going to be creating something because they have done the hard work. Their manual is going to be used by the AI to create the better and more people just like them. You know what you used to say, hey, can I get another Steve Jobs? Now there's a possibility to get another Steve Jobs with the AI.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you think about that and how you could replicate the best of the best. And I think that's on the shoulders of giants. I agree with you. I think you look at all the people or the OGs in the space. You've got the Zig Ziglars, the Grant Cardones, and the people who are out there. And I think, yeah, using them and saying, man, if I could have 100 Grant Cardones in my organization, would I take it? Absolutely, I would. Every day, all day. Guys, this has been an absolutely interesting chat, and I love talking sales, and I love talking AI, and I could do it forever. And what it really does is I think it shows a true command of knowledge around sales and understanding the new modern landscape of the requirement, not just the desire, but the requirement to have technology inculcated into your business. And both of you have really shown that you guys do that. And so for people to reach out to you, the best way to reach out to you is on the maverickvelocity.com website. Is that correct?
Or our LinkedIn,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Or your LinkedIn profiles. Yeah, perfect. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, it's been an absolute chat, a pleasure chatting with you guys. And thank you very much for sharing your time here with us. And again,
Steve, I will also, because you have invited us and all the listeners, of your show, what we want to do is we want to give a very separate link, okay, which is going to be a 45-minute consultation with both of us for free for all the individuals who have listened to this podcast, and it will be exclusive to you. So we'll create a link, and it's just our token of appreciation for your audience to listening this.
Beautiful. I love it. Well, that'll be in the show notes, guys, and you'll be able to see that there on the link, and I'm excited to see it. Hopefully it has a little flair of AI into it, or that would be disingenuous of us. And
we will be there.
Awesome, guys. And guys, this is the Money, the Mindset, the Mentoring podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.